Welcome to the channel. I'm Richard Cole. This is Amari Music Talk. Today I'm going to talk about the classic pop magazine cover story on Prince, the coverage on the Diamonds and Pearls box set, and some new information that has come to light within the pages of that article. So there's going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't had a chance to read the article, it should be on your local newsstand. You can also purchase it digitally. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers on the article, you want to read it yourself, then by all means jump off of here, go check it out. Once you check it out, come back. But for those that have already read the article and have seen the buzz on social media, I will get to the sort of surprises later. I kind of wanted to give my impressions of the actual article. This was written by reporter John Earls. The title of the article is called A New Decade, and basically it talks about the transition of Prince and his style in the 80s coming into the 90s. There's no more revolution, coming off the kind of depression of Graffiti Bridge. He's got a new band, a new approach, new band name with the new power generation, and you got hip-hop coming into the mix. You've got another power vocalist in Rosie Gaines, and this was an album. For me, like I've always said, it's not my top 10 favorite as far as Prince albums, but it was an enjoyable album for me. Like I said, I think the promotion and the hype and the music videos overall to me were more exciting than the album itself, but there are quite a few tracks that I really like on that album. So this is a box set I'm looking forward to seeing, and reading this article I'm even more excited about the coming box set, which is going to be October 27th of this year. Check out my video on the reaction to the announcement of the box set. I also have a video of the 2 tracks that have been leaked on that box set, and check those out. Those will be at the links at the end of the show, so check those out. But yeah, so basically the article, like I said, it kind of covers that history, the transition period from the 80s into the 90s. Again, with the formation of the new power generation. Tony M is featured in this interview quite a bit. Lots of different anecdotes. Michael Bland is interviewed. I think Levi Seisher as well, with some anecdotes and some information. So it was good to kind of get a little bit more of the history behind this album. I just kind of remember like 90, early 91, used to read Controversy magazine, which was an early Prince fanzine, and I remember them sort of leaking news that he was working on this album, Diamonds and Pearls. There was also the Rolling Stone cover story right around the time of pre-Graffiti Bridge album release. This was at the height of the New Tour at this point, and he was working. They were working on tracks kind of during that tour as well, and you hear Prince with the reporter Neil Carlin, where Prince plays some of the tracks, actually stuff that didn't make the album, like Schoolyard, for instance. So you can tell this album was it was in circulation, and there was a buzz that was created. This is the days, there's no internet, there's no social media, so when you kind of read things in the Rolling Stone or a fan magazine or something like that, then yeah, this is sort of the pre-buzz, as opposed to now we got the announcement, it's all over social media, and there's sort of that instant excitement. surrounding it. So, but it was good to get like a deeper dive as far as like the history of how this album came to be, which is something that I don't think we really had a chance to get with the various, biographies that have come out over the years. It's kind of like a, maybe it gets a page, maybe a couple of pages in an article, but we don't get any real anecdotes or deep stories behind it. So again, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. And there is also, I guess they spoke with Charles Spicer, who is, I guess, now the replacement for Michael Howe as far as, the Paisley Park archivist or the vault archivist. I'm calling him sort of now, he's the Kevin Feige of all things Prince, as far as, these announcements, curating the vault, putting these things together. So, and it's also good that they have a team in place as well. So they have, in addition to Charles Spicer, I forget the title of the other person that's involved with, putting these things together, but they do have a dedicated engineer for these projects going forward, and that's a good thing to hear. I know some people are kind of like, how with Jimi Hendrix, you still have Eddie Kramer, that's, who was Jimi Hendrix's original engineer, since practically day one, and he's still part of the Hendrix estate, curating all this material, him and John McDermott archiving the vault and, compiling these, the releases of Jimi Hendrix. So it's good they have, the Prince estate has a team in place handling stuff going forward. So that's pretty much a good sign. Like I said, also Dwayne Tudall, they have a little special feature within this article with him discussing, the session notes and things like that with the Diamonds and Pearls album, in which he is contributing that information to the book part of the box set. So you get the historical notes as well as some session notes as when this particular track was recorded and what date, when it was mixed, and those type of things. And that's, I enjoy seeing that all the time. So that's good. Good on Dwayne for, being a contributor to that one. Yeah, one of the, I guess the, maybe not surprises, but I guess one of the things that I took notice of within the article, they talk about, or they kind of touch on how Diamonds and Pearls was originally going to be released as part of a bigger box set. I know we've heard rumors about that as far back as I think last year, or maybe the year before that, when yeah, a couple of years ago when they did the the symposium with D'Angelo Duff and the anniversary of Diamonds and Pearls and the Symbol album and things like that. And then the rumors were as far back as then that they were going to make this one big huge box set. But it's good that they made the decision to kind of keep those things separate. I was of the mindset to, yeah, definitely keep them separate, but if you were going to combine them, then kind of do it, kind of like with some of Bob Dylan's stuff that they put out, where you get a set of the entire session. So from 91 to 92 or 90 to 92, you have all these tracks compiling of these various sessions, but then you get a standalone remastered version of the original album. So if they were going to go that route and combining everything, I would have preferred that they do that. But I'm glad that they're treating Diamonds and Pearls as a separate release, and then down the line you will get a standalone Love Symbol release. Maybe, I don't know if, well, I doubt if that would be next year, because I'll get into that a little later, but you know, that would be a good idea to come out with that eventually. I also have a video about how to make the perfect Love Symbol box set. Just go on the playlist on the channel for Amari Music Talk, and you will find that video as well. So by all means, definitely check that out. But yeah, I'm glad that Diamonds and Pearls is getting the standalone attention that it, you know, that it rightfully deserves. Let's see. Oh, also too, in this article, they interview the original engineer, Michael Koppelman. I'm not sure if he has a hand in any of the remixing, or, you know, maybe as a consultant or something. I'm not quite sure, but I'm glad they reached out to him as well to provide some contextual information on the article as well. Let's see. So let's move on to, yeah, so the big news, I think, you know, for those that are fans of Prince's, you know, the 90s era, or anything that's not related to the 80s, you know, this is exciting news. But as far as what we're going to talk about next, may not be exciting news to them per se, and that's cool. You know, me personally, what, you know, there's very few artists where I've gone for the evolution. You know, there's artists that have done, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 records, you know, that were great, you know, work, they got some hits, and either for whatever reason, you know, whether the momentum just wasn't there, the energy wasn't there, the times might have changed, they may have changed, or, you know, something unforeseen, you know, and, you know, you jump off the bandwagon with that. But, you know, Prince is one of those where, you know, I've never jumped off the bandwagon. You know, now of course not every single album, you know, registered with me, but, you know, I would still get it because, you know, there's something. And like I've always said, as far back as Around the World in a Day, you know, that was the album that really let me know we're not going to get the same thing from this cat twice, ever again. You know, where with Dirty Mind to, say, Purple Rain, there was a consistency, but there was sort of a growth that was there. But kind of post Purple Rain, that evolution just became pure evolution. You know, it's like, again, you have something that's radically different as Around the World in a Day. Parade is a little bit similar, but it's definitely next level, and personally a more enjoyable listen for me. And then you go to Sign of the Times, which for me was the ultimate for that period, and everything after that. But with all that being said, what we're getting into now, in this part of the article, they ask Charles Spicer about the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain and if anything is to come of it. So what it says here, having assembled the exhaustive Diamonds and Pearls box set, will Prince's estate celebrate next year's 40th anniversary of Purple Rain? The album was expanded in 2015, or actually it wasn't released until 2017, but hasn't had the full deluxe treatment. And Charles Spicer, his response is, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't do something around Purple Rain next year for both the film and the album. It's the work that elevated Prince to greatness, So we won't leave 2024 without doing justice to Purple Rain. That's a signature project. Now, I'm going to read that part one more time. It's the work that elevated Prince to greatness. So we won't leave 2024 without doing justice to Purple Rain. That's a signature project. So for all you Purple Rain haters out there, look, if it wasn't for the success of that movie and that album, there is no parade. There is no sign of the times. There is no 90s. There's no 21st century. There's nothing. I mean, I don't know if I want to do a video at some point about just how big Purple Rain was, just on a personal level. Just some quick thoughts. As far as the album, there were things that I love, like The Beautiful Ones, Computer Blue, obviously When Doves Cry. To me, Let's Go Crazy was sort of a bit of an extension to what was on 1999. But there was a little bit, I think, kind of as it was getting into the final 3 tracks of the album, which, they are what they are. And it's a great listening experience as a whole. But, my quick memories, initially, I felt a little bit of disappointment. And I guess maybe looking back on it, it was because maybe instinctively I knew how big this thing was going to get. And that we were no longer going to have that underground, sort of, it was kind of, even though Prince had hits, mostly it was in the R&B realm. Very little of it crossed over. Maybe 1999 was the beginning of all of that. But, it was kind of cool for that 1980, well, for me, 1981 to 1983, that sort of, this guy was so far to the left of what everybody else was doing, that it was kind of like this little special thing. Like, you were part of a little small crowd that was like, okay, this cat is doing something different and it's special. When it kind of went super mainstream like it did, yeah, a lot of things changed. And that type of success, that level of success, that fame, that money, it changes you. It changes you. And granted, it allowed him to do other things. It allowed him to experiment and expand and give him a platform that, had he stayed on that Dirty Mind to 1999 level, it wouldn't have reached a lot of you. Honestly, it really wouldn't have. It definitely wouldn't have. But you just have to appreciate that success. It's kind of like, it's kind of like Beatlemania a bit. There's that, they came to America and they conquered the world with that. Well, without that being successful, then you don't get to Sgt. Pepper. You don't get to the White Album. You don't get to Abbey Road. If they came over here and fell flat, it wouldn't have, there's no more money coming in after that point. It's like, it's not friend business, it's show business. And it's, when you get that bit of success, then those doors open up a little bit more where it's like, oh, come on in, come on in. What new ideas have you got? Come on, bring them in. So, Purple Rain is what it is. And like I said, it's a record, it's a movie to where, like I said, I felt that initial disappointment because it wasn't the underground movement that it was, that it used to be. It was getting kind of into that commercial realm. But again, without the major success of that album, even on a personal level, there's people that, that I call, whether dear friends or, even family to a certain extent. Those connections would not have been possible had it not been for that record or that film existing, because there would be no common ground, there would be no bonding at that point, or it would take longer to bond, you know, because it would have to go to something else. It would have to be comic books, or it would have to be another artist, or something else. But yeah, you know, it's influential and it's life-changing, and to not give that its celebration, you know, and especially with the 40th, it would be a crime. You know, it would definitely be a crime. You know, it's, I look at it this way, you know, with a catalog that vast, you know, you're going to have, well, I like this more than that, and that's cool, and music is subjective. But, you know, let's celebrate all of it. You know, let's, you know, like I said, Diamonds and Pearls is not my favorite, but I'm celebrating it as if this was Sign of the Times coming out with a box set, you know, which I'm glad that that finally happened. And there's a lot to look forward to with this. I was watching the ad for the Diamonds and Pearls box set, and you know, just looking at the way that it's packaged, I mean, the covers for that thing, I like it better than this. I mean, this is cool. It's the hologram. You know, we were suckers in the 90s for this type of stuff, but you know, this was cool for then. But the way they have that package now, you know, I like that a lot better. And you know, like I said, I'm looking forward to the vault tracks. This is pretty much, I mean, each box set has had something that I've never heard before, but I think it was kind of more either 50-50 or 60-40, you know, either way, to where it's like, okay, well, the majority of stuff I've either heard, but it was in poor quality. But you know, this, I think maybe a good 80%, 80 to 90% of the vault tracks on this one I have never heard before. So I'm looking forward to it. And what I've heard thus far with the Insatiable, the early mix of that, and the new song Alice Through the Looking Glass, yeah, I'm looking forward to what the rest of this box set sounds like. So there you have it. And what I do appreciate about Diamonds and Pearls, looking at a lot of the stuff on social media, that this was a gateway for a lot of younger people in the 90s at that point, you know, and I get that, and that's cool, and I like seeing that. You know, I'm a second generation, whether you want to be Beatles or Hendrix, you know, second generation. You know, I didn't get into those until, you know, I'm a kid in the 70s, or, you know, some of the stuff even later into the 80s. I didn't get into, you know, some of those artists' albums and stuff, you know. So I know it's not like having the same experience as someone that was there in the 60s and that stuff was unfolding in real time. But with stuff like Prince, you know, I get that. One day, When Doves Cry just absolutely did not exist. And, you know, of course, it didn't exist until he recorded it. But by the time it was released, you know, we didn't know anything about a When Doves Cry or anything like that. It was, like I said, I just remember walking into the house one day and flipping on the radio, and I mean, just in that split second, there it was, and it existed. And I can, you know, there's no way to explain that initial impact on that record. But, you know, again, it doesn't matter whether you know, for me, May of 1984 is significant. But if, you know, you're somebody that didn't hear When Doves Cry until, what, 1995 or 2004, or, you know, yesterday, or just 5 minutes ago, you know, you know, the impact isn't less. It's just that what's, you know, whatever was going on that day in 1984, you know, I don't know, I would have to look and see what was on the news that day, or if anything else significant happened that day, or you know, or just the times. You know, it was 1984 period, you know, Reagan was in office, and you know, the world was like this. There was breakdancing, and the Jacksons were on tour at this point, the Victory Tour, and you know, so much was changing in music. Hip hop was getting a bigger foothold, or beginning to get a bigger foothold on the musical landscape. You know, so there was so much about that particular time. But the beauty of music is that it can transcend that time. So it doesn't matter if it was unfolding in real time, like for me, or again, you know, if you were just hearing When Doves Cry yesterday, or you just seen Purple Rain, the movie, yesterday, or you're just now listening to Diamonds and Pearls yesterday, you know, the impact on you personally is just as significant. So, you know, like I said, let's just celebrate the whole, you know, the artist as a whole, his evolution, his journey. You know, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know, let's celebrate all of it. You know, it's all good. And like I said, with an artist with a catalog this vast, then there's something for everybody. You know, unless you're a completist and want it all. But you know, like I said, your era is coming. You know, and according to this, it is coming. But definitely, you know, I'm excited for the Purple Rain 40th anniversary, whenever they decide to announce it, and hopefully it's definitely just as expansive as Diamonds and Pearls and Sign of the Times in 1999, those box sets. So, you know, I've been talking about doing a video on how to make the perfect Purple Rain Super Deluxe, which will actually be the first installment of when I actually come back in November or so. Like I said, I'm coming out of hiding to talk about this breaking news, but like I said, kind of working on some things, some other projects, and you know, just spending time with that and just doing these videos. Like I said, if there's a breaking news, or if another track leaks, or if something major goes on, or you know, if you know, say Ricky Wyatt calls and says, hey, I want to talk about this album, then you know, we'll talk about this album. So so until then, but like I said, that will be the first thing. I've been talking about it for practically, what, about 2 or 3 months now, and just hadn't had a chance to really put it together. But like I said, working on some stuff. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. By all means, become a Patreon supporter, support the channel, so we can make that video happen. Alright, so more details to follow, but definitely how to do, or how to make the perfect Purple Rain Super Deluxe or box set, that's coming soon. Alright, so back to the other surprises. It also says that Spicer is also determined that Prince's later albums will start to see similar deluxe treatment. See, told you, your era is coming soon. Alright, explaining, there's most certainly going to be super deluxe sets of Prince's later music. He was always creating, and there's so much music that we've got a lot of happy work on our hands to figure out how to release it all. For the first time, some of the other artists who released albums on Prince's Paisley Park label will also see their albums reissued, some of which have been long out of print, such as Jill Jones. Ah, yes. Yes. All right. So I can finally have good one, or I should say, once again, have quality, pristine reissues of CD and vinyl, I hope, of, like I said, some of that stuff is classic, or it's classic to us Prince fans anyway, but like Jill Jones especially. So that means, you know, Madhouse, or Maserati, The Family. You know, I have some of that stuff on vinyl, or I have it on cassette. The Madhouse stuff I used to have on CD, and I'm telling you, that was the hardest thing way back when. The hardest thing to let go of. Actually, my Jill Jones CD, that was hard to let go of as well. I still have that cassette. Thanks to other electronic sources, I managed to make my own expanded set of the Jill Jones album. So I hope when they do release it, it'll be something similar to how I have mine. So that would mean including some of the 12-inch remixes and the B-sides to tracks. So yeah, so I mean, there's that. And like I said, definitely Madhouse. As far as, even though Madhouse is more of a concept than a band, way back when we didn't know any better, as far as the Paisley Park bands, those were sort of my top three: The Time, The Family, and Madhouse. Props to Maserati too, but they just, well, even The Family just had the one album, but I guess the Maserati would be 4. You know, it would be 4 on the list there of the sort of the Paisley Park bands that were my favorite projects. But definitely, yeah, like I said, they will also see their albums reissued, some of which have been long out of print. Yeah. Like I said, I hope that's soon. And especially the Time, even though you only count like Pandemonium as a Paisley Park album, but I hope that we'll get a better, like a remastered CD and vinyl. I know we had the Time's first album, and there was a lot of controversy with that one. They didn't include Morris in the beginning. You know, he spoke up about it, and then they finally included him, but it was kind of a little late to redo the packaging and the presentation of it, where I think, you know, depending on what's in the vault, there's the Dr. Funkenberry episode where he interviewed Morris Day recently. I had a chance to watch that. I enjoyed that episode a lot. So shout out and kudos to Dr. Funkenberry. Props to Morris Day. You know, so I'm hoping down the road there's some type of, you know, something going on with the Time reissues, like some kind of expanded release, or even material like a live standalone concert, you know, that's part of whatever. Or you can bundle that with one of the albums, like if you do, you know, What Time Is It? Reissue that. Definitely the stuff from the 1999 tour. Release that as a second CD. To me, you know, we all know the creation of the Time. You know, it was Prince and Morris's idea. They recorded the bulk of the material, you know, writing, producing. Of course, you know, Prince plays the majority of the instruments, wrote the majority of the songs, but you also had Morris Day on drums for, I think, about, what, 80% of those tracks. And, you know, if you haven't seen that interview, spoiler alert with that, there are more tracks with Morris Day that are in the vault, and according to him, way too many to, you know, for him to remember, except for there is a version of International Lover with his vocals on it. So there, you know, like if you do a What Time Is It, an expanded version, then put that track as one of the bonus tracks, or, you know, the second CD of vault material, things of that nature. You know, Ice Cream Castles, whatever tracks that are available, because, you know, you had, going into that, up until I think that spring or summer of 1983, you still had tracks that were in circulation. and things that were to include Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, that they were working on until, you know, they famously, you know, got fired from the time and became the powerhouse super producers that they are. So, you know, that would be exciting as well. You know, if whatever tracks that were intended for that Next Time album, which ended up being Ice Cream Castle, so you can release that, and as the bonus tracks, whatever, you know, original mix of My Summertime Thing, or I don't know if there's an early version of Chocolate with Morris's vocals on it, things of that nature, you know. But I'm looking forward to the surprises. Oh, even going back to the first album, there's tracks with Alexander O'Neal on vocals, because he was going to be the original lead singer for the time, but that deal didn't quite come through. So that's how Morris went from being drummer to frontman. And, you know, so those would be exciting to see. And like I said, the Madhouse material, that would be exciting. Tony Lamond's, you know, that material once again seeing the light of day. Ingrid Chavez, those having, you know, having those back into circulation. I know they're talking about also eventually releasing Shaka Khan's "Come to My House." You know, that would be something to have back once again, back on CD, or at least have it on streaming to listen to. Again, another sort of casualty of the survival days, you know. But yeah, it'd be nice to hear that music again. So this has been very exciting. This is probably the most exciting as a Prince fan that been in a long time. I know it had been so quiet, you know, with the transition of power within the estate and all the shakeup and the controversy. You know, it was looking dark. But like I said, with this show, I just want to focus just on the music with it, and celebrate the music, you know. And you know, it is what it is, you know. You know, regardless of whatever anyone's opinions are of who's running what or how they're running it, you know, right now there's nothing we can do about that. You know, the decisions have been made, and you know, we're getting something that we hope is good material. You know, I can't wait to listen to Diamonds and Pearls, but you know, just on the announcement, just on the article in Classic Pop magazine, you know, it's a definite step in the right direction. And from what they're saying, you know, from 40th anniversary, that's a logical step. So, you know, you'll get that, and then maybe the next year they'll focus on a later one. I've always said on previous episodes of whether it was Amari Purple Talk or Amari Music Talk that things like Parade, Batman, Graffiti Bridge, those are still under Warner Brothers, and that is mainly because movie soundtracks, they're on a different contract than an artist's standard recording contract. So with Warner Brothers just only having those 4 albums in their possession, any box sets, well, like Purple Rain, I'm sure there was a lot of logistics and, you know, a lot of negotiation to hopefully, you know, we'll see what's going to be included in that particular box set next year. But those are cards they kind of have to play very close to the chest because they only have those 4 albums. So whenever they decide to get together, the Warner Brothers and the Prince Estate, and also Sony Legacy as well, to say do Parade, then yeah, it would be kind of logical. Maybe I would say, you know, I'm just speculating, but let's just assume that Okay, we've got Diamonds and Pearls this year. That's sort of a later era record. Next year, 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. That's a no-brainer. Then you've got 1985. And you could do either one of two things. You can either do a 40th anniversary release of Around the World in a Day, or you can choose to do a later album, like do the Symbol album. Then 2026, then you can do 40th anniversary of Parade. I think it would make sense, like for Warner Brothers, since they only have just the 4 movie soundtracks, for them to kind of space it out like that. So, I mean, as much as I would love a Parade box set like yesterday, to me it would make better sense for them to spread it out, because I get them having to spread it out. So yeah, to do Purple Rain, then to kind of do whatever, whether it's Around the World in a Day, or a later era like Love Symbol, or heck, Musicology, or Artificial Age, whatever they want to do a box set of in 2025. Then 2026, do Parade, go ahead, just drop that as a box set. And then 2027, I would say go ahead, re-release Sign of the Times, do the completes, call it the complete sessions, whatever you want to call it, because as much as I personally enjoy the Sign of the Times box set, it is a little bit incomplete, and I don't know if anybody from the estate ever watches this show or anything, but my message, I remember when Michael Howe was sort of in charge of everything, and I remember him commenting about how they didn't want to do repetition because of certain tracks. My message to the estate would be, don't be afraid of repetition. As fans, it depends. Well, I'll put it to you this way. If you say, like the Prince and the Revolution live set, how that DVD was originally on the first Purple Rain expanded edition, then it was released digitally on streaming, the audio stuff. Then it was remastered and re-released, I think, a couple of years ago. That type of repetition with that short of window of time, yeah, that's a bit much. But as far as not being afraid of repetition in this area, if you do a Sign of the Times complete sessions, do this. Either include, say, the Camille configuration as one of the discs. You can still have 2-3 discs of vault material, but include that. Maybe do Dream Factory as a separate standalone release. Do the original configuration of 1986's Crystal Ball, the 3 LP. Do that as a standalone release on vinyl CD. That type of repetition doesn't bother me. Like I said, I've got a lot of the Jimi Hendrix stuff. I don't have everything. I don't have any of the box sets or anything, but I've got a lot of the different. Well, the only box that I do have is the complete Fillmore East shows. That was like 5 CDs of both nights of that performance with the Band of Gypsies. But I don't have, like I said, the box sets, but there's a lot of compilations and live material that they've put together. And I would say probably the most repetitious song, if it's not Red House, it's Hear My Train A Comin', whether it's studio or live. You know, there's so many different versions of that, and it seems to be on every other release. And I don't hear any Hendrix fan complaining about, oh, not again, not here's my trainer coming again. Oh no, not a version of Red House. No, they want every single version of Red House they can get their hands on, every single tour that they can get their hands on, every single studio recording or demo that they can get their hands on. So don't worry about repetition. You know, that's my message to the Prince estate. Don't worry about repetition. Do the complete session. So everything, you know, go get Dwayne Tudor's book here, or, you know, well, no, you guys can call him on the phone, actually. You don't need to read the book. You can just call him on the phone. And look at every single thing that was intended around that album. Anything that's considered part of the Sign of the Times sessions, period. And include that. And like I said, maybe do something like Camille. Make it one of the discs. You know, just that configuration with those particular mixes, that whatever that final mix was for that, and include that. If you're not going to release it as a standalone release on Record Store Day, then include that configuration as one of the discs, you know, just for fans of that album. So when you do the complete Sign of the Times sessions, do that. Just do that. You know, and again, like I said, maybe do Dream Factory as a separate standalone. Maybe do Crystal Ball. Do that as a separate standalone release. You could do it Record Store Day or just as a standalone release. And for fans of that particular sequencing of those two albums, that's there for them, as well as providing some historical context behind it. But yeah, that's something I think even today I would still enjoy wanting to hear, is that configuration of Crystal Ball and Dream Factory and Camille, and having, you know, like I said, just individual releases or individual packaging of it, and do it that way. And I think it's more economically sound as opposed to trying to bundle 3 discs of a sequence of an album. That would be way too many discs on a Sign of the Times box set. Then, you know, you're getting into like 12, 13, 14 discs. You know, keep it standard, whatever the 2 or 3 discs of vault material. But definitely it's kind of like a little bonus. Include that as like a 4th, you know, CD or 5th CD or 6th CD or whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, include whatever live material, Blu-ray, whatever material you want to include with that. But, you know, that's in a nutshell. Like I said, I'm excited for the possibilities to come. I tell you, this article basically made my week. I enjoyed reading it. You know, I don't really buy magazines anymore. It's just too much space, and plus too much money too. It's just cheaper to buy them, for me to buy it digitally and just read it off the phone, because, you know, a lot of times with magazines, you read it, you get what you need out of the article, and it's just collecting space, and then you just got to throw all that stuff out anyway. You know, save some trees, folks, a little bit. And, you know, so this was the most exciting article I've read in a while. And, you know, especially as a Prince fan, because I don't, you know, there really hasn't been a lot of exciting news, hardly, unless maybe the Beatles. But even now, that's kind of gotten some controversy with what they're trying to come out with next. But yeah, this was, I don't know, it just feels like the old days again, you know, the early days when you would read magazine articles like this and you're like, oh man, I wonder what that's going to sound like. Oh, they're going to get ready to come out with this album or this set or this compilation. Oh, I can't wait. So it's very, very, this has been a great week. And like I said, regardless of whatever your opinions are of the estate, you know, again, what's been happening as far as what's coming out, how they're hyping it up, you know, to me this is one of the best articles um, surrounding a Prince box set that I've ever read as well. So definitely kudos to Classic Pop Magazine for doing this. What did you guys think about it? Did you read the article? Are you excited at the possibilities? You know, not only about what's going on with Diamonds and Pearls, maybe some of the anecdotes. Let me know what was your favorite part of the article, as far as like the recording of it and what was going on at that time. Just let me know what you think. Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. So until then, like I said, I'm kind of going back underground, kind of working on some stuff. Hopefully get to announce some stuff within the next month or so. So stay tuned. Again, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell for YouTube. For Patreon, become a Patreon supporter. I know there hasn't been any new material there, but you know, to really help support this channel, support the growth of this channel, like I said, doing the like, doing the subscribe, notification bell, become a Patreon supporter. Actually, probably within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to change the tiers and what's going to be available. Hopefully have some things readily available, but like I said, getting closer to the stuff that's coming, kind of want to have that ready. But if you want to get in on the ground floor, like I said, just come in on the $1, $3, $5, or $10 level right now. Help support this channel. Also too, like I said, the like, subscribe. Right now over 400 subscribers for YouTube. I want to get to that magic number of 500 right now to start, so help me do that. Also too, you know, we've got Funky Poetic Bootlegs. That is sort of like my little sound art project. Avant-garde funk stuff going backwards on the tracks and weird noises and sounds, but it is funky. Of course, the album version of We Funk, definitely want you to check that out. Check out Rise, check out Get to Know You. Thank you for everyone. The surprise has been everyone checking out Keep It Moving. You know, that was been a surprise. The stuff that I've been pushing is like, listen to this, you know, listen to Rise, listen to, you know, of course everybody's heard We Funk for a while now, but if I say anything, definitely check out the album version, but definitely thank you for checking out Keep It Moving. That is also on YouTube. There's a separate YouTube channel for just my music that's on it. You know, even if it's not your style or your cup of tea, if you know somebody that's into kind of weird stuff or off the wall stuff or just something different, you know, make room for them or pass it on to them or share it with them. The links, but definitely check it out. Go to Bandcamp, go to my website, richardcolemusic.com, purchase a download. Go on my website, also purchase We Funk t-shirts. All of that stuff helps to grow this channel because I really want to take things to the next level, and it also helps support some other projects. Like I said, I'll announce this stuff soon. Now, some of this stuff you might see me leak little things here and there on social media, but it also definitely helps take that to the next level, because as I'm sort of entering, you know, my third act on this plane of existence, you know, this is fun. I enjoy creating, and I want to be in a position to do that. And it's not just like, you know, how you see people on like the GoFundMe's or whatever and just begging for money just because. It's like, no, here, you know, it's about trying to give you entertainment, information, quality product, you know, sharing my art. So it's not like just give me your money and that's that. It's a thing of, if you do that, then you're going to get something out of it in return for that. So like I said, you know, whether it's buying a t-shirt, downloading a track, or just donating on Bandcamp, or, you know, even streaming. The music is available on most of the platforms: Tidal, Spotify, Amazon Music, again, Bandcamp. Like I said, just stream, you know, just listen for a minute, and that helps, you know, the numbers as well. You know, just listen for a minute, you know, or listen to each track for a minute, you know, if you want to. But all of that helps generate, you know, substantial or whatever. It generates income so I can continue to do this, and hopefully over time have more time to do this more often, or to, whether it's to upgrade some equipment to do that, to do it more often, but definitely buy the time to do it more often. Like, you know, do a show every day, or be able to do more, you know, one-on-one Patreon stuff, you know, or bonus content. So by all means, you know, all of those things: like, subscribe, listen on the streaming, donate on Bandcamp, buy a t-shirt, you know, on the website. All of those links are in the show notes. So, but once again, but thank you for the growing support, because just within these last few videos, a lot of you have been liking and subscribing, definitely, so much appreciated. Hopefully, let's see, I guess until something else major drops between now and around closer to November, then, you know, continue to tune in and catch up on some old stuff, or, you know, leave me a comment, or got an idea for a topic. Oh, before I forget, actually, the origin of this episode was, let's see, hang on just a second. Here, I want to give a shout out to Daryl, who sent in an email request, where it was kind of touching on a lot of everything in this episode. It was just that, you know, I think within, because I had read it earlier, like I think on a Sunday, I read his email, and I can't remember what day that I responded. I think it was like around Tuesday, might have been Tuesday, it might have been Monday or Tuesday, or it might have been Tuesday, I think. But like within the hour of me responding to his email, I was looking on the Twitter feed, and everyone was talking about the Classic Pop magazine article. And like I said, just within that span of time after reading that article, that really addressed a lot of Daryl's questions. So definitely shout out to Daryl for, you know, definitely, you know, putting that topic suggestion out there. So if you have any topic suggestions, like I said, my social media, that's in the show notes, or you can leave a comment here on YouTube, and, you know, that might become a topic on a future episode. So by all means, keep in touch, and until later in the year, oh well, you know what, let's see, October, November, yeah, I'm going to do a review on Diamonds when it does drop. So I did my pre-order, so, which means that more than likely I probably won't get it till November 2nd anyway, but kind of once I've had time to digest it and get into it and listen to it, then my review of it will post at that time as